1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Hello, internet world. Okay, so let me see what's going on there. Okay, so here's more super babies. Okay, I think it's super babies. Anyway, let me just read. Brr, that sound, the brass alarm clock ringing, cut through the bedroom air. Brr, it's supposed to be like, brr, I think, brr, something like that. I don't know. It was one of the most popular wake-up sounds. Oh, this is a different story. This is not Super Babies. This is something else. But it was in there, so whatever. It was one of the most popular wake-up sounds. Some, like chimes, like the Big Ben Museum still rang for tourists, and Rooster Crow was gaining popularity. Still, the 1950s alarm clock was far from losing its charm, and while some people in the subculture frowned upon anything commonplace, Tiki wasn't swayed. He wasn't ashamed to wake up to the freezing bedroom air, pre-dawn darkness, and that ringing. It just worked best, he said to himself. Besides, he'd been using it for a while now. Tiki groaned awake, just barely half conscious. His eyes, he swore, were glued together with more goo than was normal, and he didn't want to rub them. His eyes were sore, and he didn't want to hurt them. His hands were sore. Why in hell's name, even if the room was 30 degrees, did he always wake up with swollen hands? He'd cut his fingers if he tried to pry the rings off them. Sore. It was so nice and warm under his blanket, though. He tugged it closer around him, pring, pring, in his ear. He wasn't even annoyed, not even a little. Still teetering on the brink of dreams. His bladder hurt, his back. He should get up and visit the bathroom. But God, it was all the way down the hall. And his muscles were locked in a laying position, too comfortable to even flinch. He couldn't hold it. Oh, he could hold it. That's what it said. Just a few more minutes. 5, no 10. Hell, give it a half hour. He had time. From under the blanket, he willed his arm to move and pick up the Lily. Lily, what an embarrassing name. He did have one thing in common with the subculture. At the very least, this one thing. He hated to call items by their brand name. It was just embarrassing. He didn't know how else to say it. It was childish. MTV, Mobile, MTU, Mobile Tech Unit. What was so wrong with calling it that? That's what it was. Nothing more, nothing less. So this is like a phone, like a smartphone, I guess. At least it was a low-end brand. He would be too humiliated to show a high-end one in public. So hell, maybe he did have a few things in common with the subculture. So what? He grabbed the thing and clicked on the snooze button 3 times in quick automatic succession before he withdrew his hand back under the blanket to safety. He tucked his face under the blanket too, up to the bridge of his nose, and curled up fetal style, eyes shut. Fuck my bladder, he thought to himself. He could have been more comfortable, but he knew he'd be asleep in seconds. What had he been dreaming of? It was nice. In the silent darkness, he let himself slip back under the primordial thick ooze of sleep. Brr, that brass ringing again. It sounded exactly like the real thing. Nothing digital about it nowadays. But who had a brass alarm clock? Now that would be an antique. Tiki snapped awake this time, as if there had never been goo in his eyes. He scrambled to turn over onto his stomach and grabbed for the mobile unit. The room was light, not bright, but sunlight was illuminating through his closed white curtains, making the definite look of matured daylight. Not sunrise. His heart beat fast and hard, and the panic rushed through him. Had he overslept? Dear God, please no. Sometimes he pressed the snooze button in his sleep. His eyes told him the answer in seconds when they fell on the clock of the unit. 7:03 a.m. Shit. Tiki ripped the blanket off himself aggressively. Suddenly the room felt like 90 degrees, but if he hurried, he still might be alright. The queues opened at 7, but there was no time to waste. Not a second. Not a fraction of a second. No time to eat a bite, splash water on his face, to pee, no shower, no change of clothes, nothing. He grabbed for his computer by the edge of the mattress. The screen was already open from the night before, still plugged in. Good boy, Tiki, he spoke to himself breathlessly out loud. Good boy, God. At least he knew how to make things a little easier for himself. The computer screen sprang to life instantly at a touch, from blank black to the aquatic-themed background he knew like the back of his hand. He didn't even think of wasting time to see what the virtual fish were doing. Click, click, a couple of clicks brought him to the employment site. Good God, at least it loaded up in a heartbeat. But God, why didn't he have it already open and ready to go? These seconds he didn't have. He was already behind. With neck and shoulders strained forwards, as tense as a wire, he clicked frantically. First job offer on the page. He didn't even look at what it was. He was already halfway through typing his first name, so used to the brief application form that he could do it gagged and blindfolded, before he glanced up from the keyboard and realized the bold red font. Job no longer available. Fuck, fuck, fuck. With more frantic clicking, he returned to where he was, praising God for the speed of his machine. But the first three were all the same, all taken before he even had a chance. God damn, he barked out loud. Okay, come on, his boyish voice urged himself on. Come on, you can do it, you can do it. There were too many like himself, too many people competing for those sweet, sweet one-shot, untaxed gigs. How in hell did these pros make their billions off of this? Probably through hacks and cheat codes and urban legends making them out to be more than they were. Billions. Psh, yeah, right. But some people did make good money off it and ran it like a con scam. He wished he knew how. So this is like when the gig economy was like just starting, basically. And like just imagining how the gig economy would be if it was the dominant employment style for low income people. And I'd say it's like somewhat accurate, you know? I don't know. But yeah. Tiki's eyes went big. Big, eager marbles of baby food colored hazel eyes. Ew. The application screen came up before him. Name, Tiki B. Age, 19. Gender, he clicked the circle for male. Number, and he, except for now, I don't know if they would still be asking gender, but I don't know. Number, and he typed in his MTU number in a half second. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Everyone's, like, smartphone, I guess, in this world is, like, basically the same, like, the serial number of their smartphone is, like, their social security number, because phone and human are, like, one, you know, whatever. In a half second. Then all that was left was checking off the circles for skills. The usual stock list. Hit enter! Yes! Tiki barked out loud in triumph. If nothing else, this one was his. Congratulations! The blue lettered message appeared before him on the screen, big and bold and full of relief for him. You have claimed this job. He didn't even spend the time it would take to glance at the words before he returned right back to the cue screen. It wasn't over yet. His fingers went with the speed of rain in a downpour, pounding on those little keys. It wasn't over yet by a long shot. The next two came easy, and he felt his anguish recede a little. If only just a little. Toilet cleaning jobs. Disgusting, but money was money, and in all honesty, thinking about it was just the bad part. Once he actually got down to it, it was fine. There was a phone study on there. He hated phone studies. No music allowed, and it was so painfully boring. And on top of it, they hardly paid. 5,000 go for an hour, which felt like 12 days. 5,000, that was barely enough for a burger and milkshake at the dirtiest whip food chain. Still, stop eating my thing. Why are you doing that? Oh my god, are you seeing this beast? He's attacking! Where was I? What you doing, baby? Come over here. Okay. Still, Tiki clicked on it without a moment's hesitation and filled it out. 5,000 go, still added up. Oh, on and on he went, snatching up jobs. Once in a while, running into that annoying message. Once in a while, running into that annoying message. You already have claimed a job for this date, June 13th, or whatever the date and time happened to be for that one. Which, that's actually pretty charitable, because I think in real life, they would just, if you tried to double book yourself, they wouldn't fucking stop you. They would just be like, hey, your fault, you're supposed to look, while you're trying to fucking frantically go as fast as possible, you know. They would totally just be like, hey, it's your responsibility to keep track of your schedule, la 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 la. Ugh. So, this world is actually more kind in that sense, you know, than the world we got. But anyways, it happened to be for that one. He recognized the small orange font instantly and just went back. It felt good once he got into his rhythm. And the clumsiness of panic, which only brought more panic, went away. Psh, ain't that the fucking truth. Tiki took a deep breath, trying to untense his shoulders, without much success. Ugh, also so fucking true. The jobs, the jobs, the jobs. Good God, there were so many. The scrolling bar up the side of his window was tiny, but little by little it grew. There may be a lot of jobs, but there were a lot of people as well. Hit enter. He hit the button with the edge of his pinky finger and eyed the top edge of his computer screen. 11. 11 jobs already? After the string of frustrating already claimed messages he had seen, that successful number 11 seemed like the sweetest blessing. He had looked at, the screen told him in red, 157. But that number 11 in forest green beside it was all he cared about. Not bad, especially for a late start. That made 60 for the week. Good thing, thank God. He had done so well yesterday. Yesterday was a real gift. He'd do alright this week. 60 jobs was probably 45 hours, give or take, and rounded up. That was good money. Temptation tensed Tiki then, and his hand lingered on the mouse and keys a moment longer. Should he click on the special qualifications tab? He knew already he hardly ever qualified for any of them. Still, it was a little fun to look and didn't do any harm, right? A sudden, sharp pain in his side nudged him, like a jab in the ribs from the finger of God himself. No, don't get greedy. Tiki said to himself, you ought to be happy with what you got. Besides, I gotta get ready for work, he said out loud to himself. He hesitated a moment, then shut the computer lid and picked up the MTU from his pillow. 7:32 a.m. Huh, not bad. He had to be at City Hall at 8:30, and transport only took a half hour. Less if he drove fast. So that left a half to get ready, he reasoned. And God, did he need it. Only when the adrenaline wore off. Now did he realize how horrifically uncomfortable he was. Why, oh why, did he go to bed in jeans the night before? It had seemed alright then, when he was already half passed out with sleepiness. He just kicked off his shoes and flopped onto the mattress, and pulled the blanket over himself. Why did he insist on going to bed at 2 a.m. anyway, when he knew he wanted to get up at 5 and do his hair? Nothing fancy, just the usual thing he liked to do. Tease the top layer and straighten the bottom layer. Oh, how nice it felt in the freezing 5 o'clock hour to sit naked curled up in his blanket and have the hot of his ironed hair fall against his neck and shoulders. It radiated out. It warmed his whole body and made it bearable to stand up out of the warm nest of bed to go and pull on clothes. That is totally inspired by, like, some year of high school. I don't remember if it was, junior or senior year, but I used to straighten my hair back then, and yeah, now it's, like, totally, like, moot point, because Sacramento, it's fucking, like, hot as hell right now, but, you know, in San Francisco, even on the warmest day, when you wake up for school, or if you got, like, an early job or whatever, and it's, like, 6 or something in the morning, It's fucking cold. It's fucking cold always. It doesn't matter. Same thing with Santa Cruz, too. Like, in Santa Cruz, it would get, like, fucking 80-something in the middle of the day. Like, around, like, 11 or something. It's hot as hell. But in the morning, like, if you get up, like, 5, 6 in the morning, it's, like, fucking freezing. Like, freezing. You don't want to fucking take a shower or anything. You don't even want to fucking let your feet hit the floor. Because it's so fucking cold. And when you're waiting for the bus out there, and especially if you don't have a good jacket, like I didn't used to have a good jacket, and it's just like, I'm fucking freezing, But anyways, that's a side story. Where was I? He should do what his friend Dayona had suggested and sleep with his clothes already prepared under the blanket with him, so they would already be a bit warm the next day and not so cringing to touch the skin. That's pretty smart. Is that a life hack? But he never remembered when it came down to it. He never remembered. On with his fantasy morning, with the remainder of the 2 hours, since hair never took too long. He would have showered and took his time drying off. He'd have his pick of all the stalls. Who else took a shower at 5:20 in the morning in his apartment hall? Oh, and they have a barrack-style bathroom, apparently. Besides, there was another bathroom on the far end, so he hardly had to compete. He would have returned to his room, warmed up something to eat, fed his pets, had the breakfast, gotten dressed, send a couple of net messages to his mother and friends. Hell, maybe even read a little if he had the time, then get good and geared up for the job queue and hit it right on the stroke of 7. Well, next time. He never could tell. The day before, operating on 2 hours of sleep, he had somehow woken at 4:57 a.m., full of energy, real energy, not panicked or nervous, feeling like he had the whole city to cradle in his arms. Now that was a morning, and the day before that he had had no sleep. He stayed up the whole night, too captivated with one of his old paperbacks. That's not accurate to the future, that's for sure. On a trip down memory lane to lay down. Before he knew it, the alarm, that clear brass sound on the MTU was ringing, and yet he had been fine, so why did he have to wake up today feeling like overcooked meal stuck to the bottom of a fry pan? Guessed he couldn't ride that goodness forever. Some days he just woke up tired. He had to sleep sometime, unfortunately. Now he didn't want to move even. He was so uncomfortable. But time was bearing down on him. He really didn't have any more to waste. Just cut his losses now and get up now, and he wouldn't have to rush. So he put the weight on his hands and hoisted himself up with a low groan. Jesus. First onto his hands and knees, and then up fully onto his feet. He swayed to the door and snatched his towel off the hook. God, could he feel any more disgusting? Every joint ached, swollen, his knees, his spine, his fingers and knuckles were the absolute worst. Tiki threw the towel over his shoulder. That small burst of air the motion created rustled a rip in his wallpaper near the door. Oh yeah, he almost forgot about that rip. He always meant to tape it back up, but always forgot. His lips were dry and coated with morning spit film. He didn't really like that wallpaper, never had. The room was already tiny enough and dark, blackish green wallpaper with the deep blood red flowers only always seemed to make it feel tighter. I put that wallpaper in like all my stories where there's wallpaper because it's my favorite. Even where the curtains were drawn back and the room filled with sunlight. But was he the landlord? No, his clothes stuck against his body with all of yesterday's grime. His pants and socks especially. I know that feeling. His socks were probably toxic by now, not to mention the sweat which had broken out on him during his job hunt. He was still damp from that. Disgusting. He wished the walls were just bare. At least wearing the same pants from yesterday meant that his keys were still in his pocket. He fell asleep with keys in his pocket? That wouldn't, hurt him if you rolled on him? He opened the door to his 8x8 hutch apartment and wandered out into the long hallway. Yeah, they have fucking, like, little-ass cubicle rooms in this store. I remember that. What do they call those things? Those, they have them, like, in China or something, like the super small apartments or whatever. They're hella shitty. Wandered out into the long hallway where the wallpaper... Wait, my wig. My wig bothers me so fucking much. Where the wallpaper was very faint peach-colored, almost white, with tiny flowers and navy blue sprinkled on it like snowfall. Not at all like the large, dark red ones in the rooms. A window on each end of the hall let in sunlight, but never got as bright as the rooms did. He wandered to the bathroom, and thank God, after that rough start, things really weren't going so bad. Only one other shower was occupied, peacefully running the water and working up steam. Tiki made his way to another, warily avoiding a pair of orange and white mini syringes left abandoned on the tile floor. That's fucking nice, isn't it? Even with making a wide arc around them, he cringed. These people. Did they have no shame whatsoever? He couldn't stand the sight of the little things, and having it invoke the image of them being used was even worse. Tiki shook his head and darted into one of the shower stalls and yanked the waxy curtain behind him. I need some light. No, he doesn't want to give me light. I'm gonna finish this page and then just cut off the video because it's like 20 minutes now. Fuck it, he mumbled out loud. Tiki stripped the socks off his feet, and as the bare skin of his soles touched the cool tile floor, his shoulders dropped in relief. He hung his towel on the white stall wall on the hook and towed away his socks to start a pile in the corner. Already he was feeling a bit cleaner. Off come his Navajo print? Is that what it says? Whatever that means. T-shirt, his undershirt, and his pants. The tight black denim clung desperately to his legs. Nothing's worse than, like, skinny jeans, like, sticking to you when you're, like, hot and sweaty. That's why I don't do skinny jeans. I had a pair one time. It was really, really tight on me. They were, like, 2 sizes too small for me, probably, and I wore them anyway just because they sucked. I fucking hate those jeans. I'll never wear jeans that tight again. Where was I? And with an irritated growl, he yanked them off, letting them go inside out as he peeled them eagerly off. He didn't care. He threw them in the pile. Finally, skin bare, naked. God, how good it felt to stand naked. And it would be even nicer to get clean. He grabbed the shower head and switched on the water, and there it came, rushing up to hit him. God, yes, Tiki let his mouth open a little. Did that ever feel good? The smell of sea salt. What? He closed his eyes and wet his face, moved the shower head all along his body. Finally, he could let his bladder go, but instead of a satisfying outrush of urine, it was just a tense, frustrating trickle. He has problems. Okay, Tiki gave an irritated sigh. He held the shower head to his stomach and with his free hand massaged gently at the sides of his abdomen. It felt nice, the warm ocean water. Oh, I guess their shower water is being sourced straight from the ocean. I guess that's what the deal is. The warm ocean water and the soft pressure. Did it ever really loosen him up, though? Not a chance. Okay. So, let me cut it off here with this poor 19-year-old having trouble peeing in the shower. And I'll read some more in a second.